Here's Brody Brazil.
The number one question I get from Sharks fans consistently is, who's been your favorite player to interview? Unfortunately, the answer to that is complicated. In fact, it's impossible. There's no way I can narrow it down to just one favorite, because it's like apples and oranges. One favorite for one reason, another favorite for a different reason, but ultimately impossible to say just one player stands above the rest. There's also this. The team is celebrating 30 years of existence. I've been fortunate enough to be around for the last dozen, but that's nowhere near the first 18 years and the entire span of all the guys that have come through that dressing room. And there are two people who would know everybody from the very beginnings till now, and they are Randy Hahn and Dan Rusanowski, respective TV and radio voices of this team since the early 90s. So I would defer to them as being the experts of which players are really the best interviews. That being said, what I'm doing here is picking five of my favorites in the last dozen years. And in no particular order, let's begin with Scott Nichol, who ended up playing 135 games for San Jose in the early 2010s. And there was just something about having a conversation with number 21. He would look you right in the eye, he'd square up to you, and he was always thoughtful, but also energetic with his answers. Even when the chips were down, he would give you something that was valuable. He was good television. Also this, I feel like I could relate to Scott. And it's because of his stature. When I would stand right next to him, we're basically the same height. He was listed at 5'8", 179 pounds. But the way he played was at least 7 to 8 inches taller and about 20 to 30 pounds bigger than he actually was on the ice. I loved Scott Nichol as a player, but I also loved him as somebody to talk to.
You mentioned stay out of the box for the third period. Anything else this team can do, your Shark team can do, to really get that momentum back and hopefully get a win in this game?
Score the next goal. I think that would be a huge one. It's 1-1, and we're capable of scoring goals in this locker room, and we have all the confidence in us to score. And but we're not by that side. We're not going to cheat away from our defensive side. But we're going to score. We're going to win, and it's going to be a good victory for us tonight.
Thanks for keeping it simple for me.
Thank you.
All right, so that's Scott Nichol. Randy will send it now back up to you.
Number 2 of my list of 5 was number 22, defenseman Dan Boyle for the Sharks. And I just love his backstory and his trajectory. A person who was undrafted into the NHL, but ultimately won a gold medal in the Olympics and won a Stanley Cup in this league. I mean, you can't write it better than that. Boiler was so emotional. In fact, sometimes you could feel his blood boiling as he would do a post-game interview if he was happy or upset about something. I mean, he would literally wear it on his sleeve. Before he even said a word, I feel like you could see it facially. Now, I do have to share a quick story. It was the playoffs of 2010, round 1, game 3. Dan Boyle was part of an own goal that turned out to be the game winner for the Colorado Avalanche. And instead of ducking the media, instead of hiding from interviews, he was the very first player to make himself available after that game, not only that night, but also the next day. It was an off day between games. He spoke to the media all over again.
And lastly, this overtime, a lot of risk, but a lot of reward. And the balance between being conservative and aggressive, how do you guys play this one?
Well, again, there's a fine line right there. You don't want to be too passive, and then again, you don't want to take too much risk. So it's a fine line where, we're players who've been through it before. You just got to figure it out.
Dan, thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, there he is, Dan Boyle, the defenseman for the San Jose Sharks. Don't go away. We'll come back with the fourth period of Sharks hockey right after this on Comcast Sportsnet, California.
At number 3, I should probably get to a current Shark, and that would be Mario Ferraro. Or is it Mario? That's the biggest challenge I have with number 38. I don't know how to pronounce his name because he always changes it on us, but I digress. He has yet to even play a full season in the NHL. His first year was cut short by the pandemic. This current season is only 56 games as opposed to 82, but I can tell already, not just the kind of player he is and has the potential to be, but the kind of leader he'll be for this team and also the personality that he just emits constantly, whether he's on the ice or whether he's making YouTube videos. That's right. I'm going to say right now, Ferraro is the best YouTuber in the NHL. Youngest of plugs. Check out his channel. I'll link to it somewhere in the description below. But I've only had a handful of conversations with Mario so far, and it's just the instinct. I can tell that he's going to continue to be a great talker, a great interview, charming personality, always upbeat, but also always honest about situations. And again, not afraid to give you a little bit of a glimpse into his life.
Yeah, I'm currently in Toronto right now.
Are you under Mr. and Mrs. Ferraro's roof right now?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's different. It's different than during the year. I have my own place, which is nice. But,
right.
Different vibes now. I don't run the household anymore.
Do you have to let them know? Now, obviously, you can't really go out, so I'm going to change my question there. But do you have to let them know what you're doing? Here's an NHL player back with mom and dad right now.
I told them right away, if I'm filming a YouTube video, I'm in my room or I'm doing something, limit the noise. You're not coming in, knock on the door before you come in, stuff like that. But no, we're both used to it. I think it. Yeah. For me, I don't mind coming home. Maybe my parents will say otherwise. But
my fourth favorite to mention has got to be Ryane Clowe. I mean, you knew that one was coming, right? He was such an integral part of the team in the late 2000s and early 2010s. I said earlier that Dan Boyle spoke with fire. Ryane Clowe always spoke from the heart. And he'll tell you sometimes he even might have said too much or opened the door too much to the media, but that's just the kind of honest and genuine person Ryane Clowe is and was as a hockey player for the Sharks. You always knew that in bad games, he'd be a great interview because he wouldn't hold back. He wouldn't bury anybody necessarily, but he would tell you an honest evaluation of the game that just happened. Also, when this team was having success, he would kind of dial it back a little bit. He wouldn't jump ahead of getting too emotional and too optimistic. He would keep it real, for lack of a better phrase. So Ryane Clowe, one of my favorites, and I always loved the way he spoke with the Newfoundland accent. It kind of had a different cadence to it and real casual delivery. Ryane Clowe always seemed to feel comfortable in those interview situations, and I always appreciated talking to him.
Ryan, 3 games in this series, all decided by 1 goal apiece. Not everything going your way. Must be a little frustration, must be a little bit of anger. Can we expect some hostility in your game tonight?
Well, if it is, it's hunger around the net. There's not much you can do when you fire 51 shots. You just got to find a way to finish, and we'll get a little more traffic tonight, but just be desperate around the net.
One of the weapons rejoins your arsenal. Danny Heatley is back. What can the sniper do immediately tonight to impact the game?
Well, Danny's obviously, like you said, a sniper, so he's one of those guys, he doesn't need a lot of shots to put one in, so if he gets up around an 8, 9, 10 shot total tonight, I expect him to score.
Ryan, thanks for stopping by. Best of luck. No problem. Randy and Drew, back to you.
My last of 5 favorites is actually not even a player. It's the former head coach, Todd McLellan. Now, to be clear, I've had the opportunity to work with 3 different Sharks coaches. Todd was first, followed by Pete DeBoer, and now it's Bob Boughner, who's only been around for a short while. And this is no disrespect to either Pete nor Bob. It's just that I had the most time around Todd, got to know him the best, got to learn a lot of hockey and what it's like to coach a team from behind the scenes through the insights and the access that Todd was fortunate enough to give me. He was so eloquent with words. I saw him be asked softball questions, and he was good with those. He wouldn't make them overly softballish. At the same time, I saw him being asked very difficult questions, ones that had the opportunity to swing the franchise one way or another based on what he said. He always chose his words so carefully and so tactfully. It was almost like anything thrown his way, he had previously rehearsed or thought about it being asked, and he would give that thoughtful answer to go along with it. Now, I'm not suggesting he was scripted or that he did premeditate these answers. He was just that good in the moment. So I always enjoyed Todd McLellan. I always enjoyed talking to him, especially during the games.
Welcome back to Sharks Hockey at HP Pavilion, where the Sharks have a 2-0 lead. Head coach Todd McLellan. We mentioned that 2-0 lead. The shot clock 2-1 in your favor. How do you assess the first 40 minutes of hockey?
Well, we're happy with the way we played to this point, but more importantly is what we're going to do here in the third period. We have a tough time putting away games lately, and we have to do a lot of things right mentally and physically.
Coach, thanks for your time. Randy and Drew, the second period there getting a little chippy. We'll see how it develops in the third.
As I close out this video, you may have noticed that I did not include a single Sharks captain as one of my top 5 favorites. Now, that was by design. I felt like I had to exclude Rob Blake, Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski, and Logan Couture as the 4 captains that I've covered on this team. They're just such good leaders, always great talkers, from Blake being so professional, so smooth, to Joe Thornton being so entertaining and charismatic, to Joe Pavelski being so serious but so open at times. And obviously, Logan Couture has been with this team now more than a decade. And yes, as the domain owner of LoganCoutureFanClub.com, you know I would put Logan in the mix of one of my favorite people to talk to over the years. That's definitely the case. All 4 have been great and great to me. It's just that I wanted to exclude them to open up the door for other players. So that's it. Tell me what you think. Do you agree with my 5? Is there somebody else I missed or somebody else you remember from the first 18 years of Sharks hockey that you'd like to see included in some future conversation? Thanks for checking this out. I'll talk to you next time.